Hi, I'm Cherie Peterson. I'm here to introduce Larry L.D. Porter and talk about his book and his healing work. He also has an incredible website that you are invited to take a look at, which we will post at the beginning and end of this video. LD, called Larry Porter, is a man of remarkable depth, bringing over 3 decades of dedicated service across 2 distinct yet complementary callings, the healing arts and the world of music. For over 50 years, Larry has worked as a compassionate psychic healer, offering unique remote sessions that have guided both humans and animal clients toward the restoration of balance, health, and well-being. His lifetime of work is devoted to finding true and lasting solutions for conditions causing imbalance or disease, from accident victims to those facing severe life-threatening and chronic illnesses. With hundreds of client testimonials reflecting journeys into better health, wellness, and improved quality of life, Larry's gift for focusing the whole being toward vibrancy and wholeness has touched the lives of so many across the country and throughout the world. Equally gifted in the realm of music, Larry has spent over 50 years immersed in both the performance as concert pianist and technical mastery of the piano. As a distinguished piano technician serving Colorado and New Mexico, he has contracted with world-renowned manufacturers and dealers, including Fazioli, Biosvendor, Steinway, Hamburg, Baldwin, and others. A competitor and performer since 1970, Larry has graced stages worldwide, including Paris, France, and he remains available for exceptional private events and for fundraisers. In both his healing and his music, Larry Porter brings the same quiet dedication, a belief in harmony, balance, and the restoration of something beautiful.
Last Thursday, a man called me from the United Kingdom. He had been a client of mine several years ago with a fatigue issue. Now he is in bed and very ill. And after one session on Thursday, we did this just by email. The next day he said, I can sit up for 6 minutes. That tells you what condition he was in. And he's repeatedly given me new emails, each time an improvement significant. This morning he said he was even able to stand in the shower. Now, I'm Larry Porter, and I do a work. People call it healing. I don't. It comes through me. I don't do it. And Cherie, my dear friend here, is going to talk a little bit as an introduction.
Okay, it's great to see you, Larry. This is such a great opportunity for people to understand on a new level the kind of work that you're doing. I've experienced Larry's work over the years, and it's always helped me. I always think that it's quite magical, miraculous. But whatever the issue is, he gets in there and he does his thing. He does his no thing. And he's helped me immediately, and nothing's ever come back after it's gone. And recently he's helped my poodle, my doodle, mini golden doodle, who had urine tests and blood tests and feces samples and just yada, yada, all the things that the traditional medical veterinarians would do. and they were not getting to the issue. Larry worked on my pup for, just very short periods of times for a number of days, and voila, she's a new puppy. She's a new girl. She's the blood in her stool is gone, and she's eating better, and she's happy and energetic. So once again, his work has always helped, and this book that he's putting together with other people's testimonials may help for you to see that the kind of issue that you may be dealing with can be addressed by his work. It won't be out for a few, a few weeks, few months. It's on its way. It's edited and ready to go.
A few weeks.
Couple weeks.
This is the book. And it's called Nothing because that's what I feel I do. I try to eliminate all worldly desires and pleasures too, so that we go to a point where there is no concepts or where there's no thinking. That allows for other things to come in, new things. If we work with existing conditions, we work with existing conditions. That means we're changing them, hopefully. But if we eliminate them, beginning in the mind, it leaves room for a new condition of well-being to come in.
And I've heard you speak to this in a number of ways. You've used the word 0 point. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, and actually, even 0 point is a concept. And I usually say, if we can talk about it, if you can name it, that's not it. And you may see that similar things talked about in Zen and other Tibetan exercises. But if it is of the conscious mind, that is not what I do. There are a lot of good techniques, wonderful things, medicine's wonderful, on and on. I don't do any of that. I want to stay away from any concepts, any names.
Okay, so this is something that a lot of people may need to, go on a reset in order to understand, or to maybe just, we're getting to the place instead of understanding through our brain, maybe through our intuitive centers, through our heart, there's just a knowing which is all encompassing, and it's without words, it's beyond words. So would you say that is like what realm, or where are you when you're doing this work?
I think that's a pretty good description of the thing we can't describe. I feel we're living in a world of two realities. The reality of the physical world, which we see and know every day, the news, the sports, the workouts, everything physical, the new cars, houses. We have to eliminate all that. Below that is another level of existence, which we all have. We'll call it the soul level or the spirit level. And that is what exists all the time. Most people are not even aware of it. Most of the world believes there's a spirituality somewhere, somehow, in different forms, different religions, so forth. This is where we're going. We don't want to name it because we want to avoid belief systems too. Belief systems are concepts. And with belief systems, we don't want to anticipate any outcome. We want to do not want to give any kind of intent. We want to let it come through me to them, let it come through them, and they may see a correction in a session or two, or we might see slight corrections in 2 or 3 sessions. If we do, I urge them to continue sessions because little by little, there can be a cumulative effect of total curing.
Okay. It makes total sense to me, and I'm sure there will be other questions that come up. You're creating a open, empty, clear space where that you call nothing, and in this space, anything. I would call it also pure potentiality, but there's words again.
Mhm.
So from here, let's continue forward. There's just so many areas that I'd like to get clarity on for the folks listening and watching this. How do you address the idea of no time, no distance? Are these concepts that people need to be in, or is when you're working on them, what's the best space for them to be in?
Well, this is about the work, what happens. And I urge them to become really relaxed, as if in hypnosis. It's not hypnosis, but very, very relaxed and calm and breathing. And that allows us to go on down and examine what is not there and to get rid of some of the thoughts, good thoughts, bad thoughts of the day. We don't want any thoughts. And that blank space, if you will, is the nothing we go into. And then that's what I work out of. On time, time simply does not exist. Time is a concept. It's based on a linear idea of things happening, events, a line of events. Time is a line of events. Time is an abstract concept. Time itself does not exist. Now, I know that Einstein theories and so forth. Um, in my work, time does not exist. Events do. Improvement does. Um, so if we're thinking linearly, we can't think linearly in this work. In terms of distance, there is no distance because I'm right there with them. As I told you, I just had a client this morning in the United Kingdom, and I have a lot of clients in Australia, uh, China, India, Ireland, so forth. Distance does not matter. We're just there with them. Just like this Zoom, we're right here with you. And that's what I see. So there is no time involved. There's no travel. It's just there. And I love the book, Be Here Now. I will change the title to Be There Now. We're instantly there. And we do that every day. From thinking about your front door, you can be there, or you can be with a friend somewhere across the country. And mothers experience it all the time with their children. It's the same sort of thing. They usually know what their child is doing. If their child is in trouble, hurting, or feeling good, they can feel these things. And that's really the realm we're talking about doing. Nonverbal, No time's involved, no distance is involved. It's just there.
I think these are concepts that, or these are ideas that people are now starting to ponder so they can get their head or their heart around them. The idea of, I call it in my work, in my meditative work, by location, which doesn't take time or space. You just, at the speed of thought, you're there. You see yourself there. So there are different words for this. Some people might call it quantum, but then again, quantum is defined different ways by different people. So again, it's a word. So
Yeah.
when you,
Even the speed of thought, I think they've traced it down to being at the speed of light. It's not even that. There is no speed at all. There is no distance transversed. And that's the nice thing about quantum. They talk about dual existence for teleportation, where the same object is exactly the same in both places. What happens to one happens to the other at the same time. They're identical, but they're in different locations.
yes, I appreciate that. I think that there will be a lot of discussion about these, and I think you're a forerunner because you're out there. You've been doing this work for what, 20, 30 years? You've been known as the human x-ray machine because you can go in and see things, which when I mentioned that to a friend, they said, well, does he have a degree in radiology or blah, 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 blah? I'm going, yeah, never mind. So there's a portion of trust in this work that it's worked. It's worked for how many years have you been doing this?
Well, I say 40 or 50 because I'm pretty old and yeah, I've been doing it a long time. Uh, I started with some psychic friends. I really started learning more in 1980. One of my friends was a psychic who was a nurse, and another was a good friend uh, who was a psychic, and I learned a lot from them. And then in the 90s, there was Solomon Wiki, the Amish healer. Uh, he did not want to be called healer, so we call him an herbalist. He was an expert with herbalist herbs. And he did many methodologies, number one, muscle testing, iridology, so on and so forth. Um, but that's not what he did. He did that up front. What he did, he could not talk about and he did not want to talk about. When someone would call him a healer and thank him for their work, he would say, I don't do it. He would point upward. And he would tell you God or Jesus did it. Uh, those are concepts I don't really use. And I could see after 2 years of observing him that the areas he was dealing with in the body, a problem area, it would shift from a negative to a positive instantly. He never talked about that. He called it a release. Now, he would talk about doing a release on someone. And you could usually tell, or I could, if that had happened with them. It would change their charge, if you will. So that's some of my background.
That's some of your background. Um, for those that know you, we know you as a brilliant concert pianist. To me, that shows just how out of body mind you can be when you're playing the piano. I don't, do you have some of that piano work on your website or is that a different website?
Um, you can see it at the bottom of the website, a connection. I also have over 60 YouTubes of recordings. Uh, Nearly all of them are my improvisation. And you can look up Larry Porter, pianist, YouTube.
Great. I only mention it because, well, one, if somebody listens to you play, they'll know just how brilliant you are. But it's also like you used to take um, classical music, use, I don't know, I guess a lot of it you had memorized, but you use sheet music sometimes. But it was always exactly to each note the way that it was performed. And then you moved into kind of the same thing as your healing work, as the work that you do now, that it's spontaneous in the moment and you do what needs to be done at the time. So I see that evolution in your life. Um, can you speak more to people's questions about how can this be possible? People often have a difficult time imagining that this is something. They probably think that it's just because people believe it so, then they can believe it, but it's not real. How do you address the skeptics that come to you?
Well, now I address them by saying, look at the book. There are 200 testimonies of people. It cannot be that many imaginations. This is a true fact. This does happen. And those are only some of the testimonies through the years. I have many, many others, almost in every subject of illness or mental disposition, whatever. Um, I like the word spontaneity because that implies it comes out of nothing instantly. And I think musicians, especially jazz musicians, understand this. When they're playing, they just know what comes and what goes next, and they don't have any theories or questions about it. It just happens. And a lot of the improvs you see on my YouTubes are based on that.
I think that can be very helpful for people that have been involved in anything. Could be sports, could
Yeah.
be loss of time. They don't know. All of a sudden, they're driving and they arrive somewhere, and it's like no time seems to have passed. That's
Yes.
that no place, that nothing place, that difficult to describe. But I would like to add that it's not hundreds, it's probably tens of thousands of testimonials and people that you've worked with over the years. Like you said, it's definitely more. But when people see your book or see the video testimonials on your website, they might get a better sense of it. The website is ldintuitive.com, another place to go.
Yeah, make sure you have the beginning initials LD, intuitive. There's another website out, just intuitive.com. It's ldintuitive.com. And those are my first initials.
Great, very helpful. Thank you. So that was about the intersection of music and healing. We went into nothingness, we went into zero point quantum. I've got whole pages of questions, but is there something at this place in this introduction that you would like to include, or would you like to continue with questions?
Let's just keep going and we'll go fast. And I'll try to tell you whatever spontaneously comes. Okay.
Okay. There's a word, the effortless pivot, mechanics of the effortless pivot. You describe healing not as a mechanical repair, but as an effortless pivot. What are the core mechanics driving the shift? And how does this shifting the facilitator's internal state causing the problems in the subject to lose the structural integrity?
Pivot implies an immediate shift. And that's back to the release idea where I saw with Solomon uh, the release that he did, where the charge changed from a negative to a positive instantly. And then once that changes, we're able to build in a positive manner uh, healing work. Does that answer the question?
I think so. I'm I'm curious how that shift um, feels to you, or how do you know when a shift has taken place like that?
How does a mother know that their child is suddenly in trouble or suddenly in pain? Can't explain it. Just knows.
Okay, those are simple ways of describing it that I think many of us can relate to, even if you haven't been a mother. For all the men out there, men have incredible intuition as well. Is intuition a word that we can use?
Yeah, for lack of a better one. I
Okay.
don't, I'm always searching for some term to describe things and I can't find one.
So many chronic illnesses operate as perpetual neurological or energetic loops, and this non-logical intervention as a pattern interruption. How does the vacuum effect allow, this is another word to be used in this nothingness, vacuum effect, allow a higher expression of health to rush back in?
First of all, trying to define more uh, the recurring loop. Uh, the man I was just working with suffered years with this illness. Um, for those of you who know what POTS is, it's a severe uh, neurological, physical disorder, and it's gone through cycles over and over and repeats itself. He's been to many doctors. He just had an MRI and so forth. And we were the first to encounter that and topple it, if you will, topple over the pivot to create a pivot. And it went over, and now it's on the improvement side and continuing to get better. All marks are positive. So there is a cumulative effect of the positives, which build into a healing, if you will.
It's an interesting concept, the idea of healing. I know so many in the industry, in the healing arts professions, know enough to know that they don't fix anything, although people want to be fixed. I used to always say, I can change it and it'll be better. But on some level, people do have to move out of that loop and get into a whole new way, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, of being in the world. The idea of fixing is it's almost counterintuitive in terms of the healing arts. Do you want to say anything more about why fixing something is counterproductive to the
I
health?
like the word fix because it implies you're just kind of fiddling around, not doing a big deal. And that's what I do. I say, I only answer the phone, the rest just comes. And in fact, the old Amish man I was talking about, he used the word fix, but it is suddenly, as I said, a change to the positive, and then the positives keep adding up. Um, we used to, my father was a pharmacist, so I grew up with medicine and doctors and so forth. And back then, 50, 60, 70 years ago, we would say, we would think uh, that God could heal, that doctors could heal, and then other healing can take place. Now, ironically, only doctors can heal. And that is a legal situation. I cannot say I heal, even though I have all this evidence and testimonies. It is illegal for me to say I heal. It is illegal for me to give a diagnosis, which I don't do a diagnosis anyway. I don't agree with the concept totally. Uh, so the point is, I kind of like the word fix because it's non-committed that way.
Okay. Um, how about the idea of it's not you doing the work,
Yeah, that's what I've been saying all along.
that the problem gets fixed,
It
and
gets, yes, you can put that.
there we are in a new moment. Do you ask your clients to see themselves in a different way on some level?
It all depends on the client. There's no fixed procedures.
I like the idea of the violin, the piano player, and the violin. Okay, so we're navigating through a lot of skepticism. We're navigating through concepts, words, constructs. What I'm hearing is that there's a new doctor in town. I guess you don't want to be called doctor either, and you don't want to be called healer. The
Yeah,
man
that's
who does nothing.
can't be called a doctor either. I do not have that medical training.
Right. Um, the idea that so many have been kind of, I don't want to say taken out, but I've got a list of hundreds and hundreds of healing professionals that have disappeared. They supposedly suicided or whatever. And so I understand the importance of being under the wire and being invisible in terms of being out in the world. We know we can't use the word doctor. We know we can't say that we cure, we can't prescribe. So, what you're doing is kind of beyond most of our beliefs of what is possible. Maybe before we close, we can talk a little bit more about some of these severe cases that you've worked with. Like I know you have done fourth stage cancer, you've dissolved tumor. You see the issues being dissolved, changing. Um, so, what additional advice can you give to people about the whole idea of this fear and skepticism of trying to surrender to the healing process?
No effort. There's no trying. It just happens. Again, trying is a concept and effort we don't want to do. Just being there, uh, just being is all we need.
So people don't have to do anything special when you're working with them.
Not at all.
I think that can alleviate some fears people might have about the process, like, oh, I can't do it.
Mhm.
They don't have to do, right?
There's no preparation. Not at all.
And how about the amount of time that you need to work with people? I would assume it's not like a remedy, a pill that they take and it's gone. I assume my experience with you has been it takes some time. Over time, the issues continue to improve and you follow with them. I guess, would you just say each person is individual and each situation has to be determined about how much time is needed for appointments?
Exactly. We're set up on the website to do timed appointments, 30 minutes at a time or so forth. But I find sometimes a pain that has been with someone for years can be dissolved within a short session. Uh, Other times it may take a month or two to dissolve that condition, and then some of the condition returns. So we keep going with that. Um, there's there's no answer as to what it could be in terms of time.
I would imagine that it makes it difficult for you to be paid for the work that you do because people people pay a little bit at the beginning, but I know you well enough to know that you stick with them and you keep working with them. And it's hard to ask people to continue to pay, but there must be some, I don't know if you have packages or you just work, say, if you work with somebody for a month, then you determined after the fact how much they would pay for that according to what was done.
Yeah, again, I don't want to work with set concepts. I do have something on the website called 3 days intensive work. I call it HIT, high intensity um, uh, sessions. But I like to leave it open and flexible. I don't want to charge someone $5,000 up front for a major illness, and within a week or two, we've got most of it remedied, or within a month, there's been no success. We certainly don't want that. So I like to go in individual steps on paying for something to see how things progress.
And I guess it comes down to how much is your health worth? People often say, oh, well, that's so expensive about so many things. And yet they'll pay hundreds or thousands of dollars for medication or for MRIs or for doctor's visits or for operations, $25,000 for a little facelift. I think women seem to not have a problem paying. So, yeah, when doctors can't understand or do anything more for people, I'm sure that people then are coming to you, just like Tesla.
Mhm.
Um, it was difficult for people to understand what he was recommending, and yet he was genius at his work, and his ideas were kind of stolen. But with you being under the radar and not wanting to charge a lot, I think it's important for people to be in that same space. Let's see what it takes. You're an individual. How long, how much. I think once people start feeling better, well, at least for me, when I start feeling better, I feel like I'll give you everything I have, except for my dog, maybe. For all the work that you've done and all the help that you've given, it's priceless. On that note, do you have more to add about your book? Do you have other testimonials, other instances that you'd like to share with us before we leave?
Uh, Please see the book when it's available, and please go to the website. Uh, Read the website thoroughly. We have lots of Q&As there and lots of testimonies in almost all illnesses already on the website. So read those, look that up.
And what about if people want to talk with you or want to contact you? What's the best way to do that?
Everyone wants to talk about their illness, which is very understandable. That's what they're concerned about. But I'm not there for the illness. I'm there for the remedy. And what I want to do is spend my time on the phone working with the person. Uh, and I will hear uh, the doctor's testimony about your situation and so forth. In fact, I want very much you to have worked with medical and to continue working with medical and your doctor's advice, because I can't do it all and I need a reference point. There's nothing I like better than to hear you've just had an MRI. That gives me a basic to work with, and if something is terribly wrong with the person, we need to know about it. And usually medical can identify that. And just the identification from medical helps a lot. It gives me more groundwork to work with.
That's helpful for people to recognize that they don't have to hide from you that they've seen a doctor or that they're working with certain tests.
Ironically, they usually hide it from the doctors that they're working with me. Seriously, they know the doctors will simply ignore me in spite of the sometimes amazing results. Uh, the doctors simply ignore it.
Yeah, I've had that experience. You mention it. I mention it to my vet, to my physician. Well, I don't really have a physician, um, physician's assistant. And it's like, I didn't say anything. They just keep going on in some other direction. It's like saying, you know, this ET visited me yesterday, and wow, did they ever have great things to talk about? And it's like, whoever you're talking to is just like moves right on and acts like you didn't even say it. So we're trying to open up to new possibilities. And I really, really appreciate what you're doing, Larry, even in this discussion to open minds, to open hearts, to allow people to trust in the process. The evidence is there. And they don't have to convince the doctors and the vets and the medical people because they've had training. They're in this line and you're in this line. And hopefully, what you're doing is bringing it all together eventually. So, thank you for your work. It's beyond anything that I could even say in terms of how grateful and how beyond the imagination the results have been. So we're going to stop this now and then start again on a different topic in a minute. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you. All right. Goodbye.